marketing strategy, part 2 of 3. So part 2 just deals with what am I supposed to post on social media. So part 1 dealt with how to pick your platform. Part 2 is now that I have my platform, what the heck do I do with it? So there are 5 different things you need to consider when you are posting on social media. Number 1 is what kind of content should I be posting? To make it very simple, I have an acronym called FRESH, and I teach my clients how to keep their content fresh. FRESH literally just stands for funny, responsive, emotional, sales, and helpful. So if you'd like a more in-depth look to how to keep your content fresh, make sure you click the link up in my stories and access the full training that goes with this. Again, completely free. So number 1 is what kind of content do I post? Number 2 is how often do I promote? So regardless of how often you're posting, you need to decide how often you're going to promote your product or your business. In other words, how often are you going to be a little bit salesier than the rest of the content that you're posting? Now, for me, because I show up and I add value every single week consistently with videos and blogs and freebies, I will promote 2 to 3 times per week. Now, if you're just getting started and you don't have your value set yet with your audience, I would limit it to 1 time a week on your normal page. We call that a static post. And you can do 2 to 3 times a week up in your stories. Stories, as a rule of thumb, you can be a little bit salesier with those. Item number 3 is how do I repurpose content? So as a content creator, you do not have to spend 24 hours a day coming up with new content. This is an example of repurposing content. So last week, I did a video and a blog that had to do with setting up a marketing strategy. This week, I'm doing a bunch of short reels that have the same information because the people that consume long video content are different than the people who consume short video content. So I'm getting different eyes on the same material. Next week, I will turn this into a couple of carousels or static posts because people who consume that kind of content typically are different than the ones who do the short form and the long form video. So there's a lot of other examples in the link up in the stories, but that is one example of how to repurpose content. And I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you're taking advantage of all of those examples and really working smarter, not harder. Number 4 is just learning how to stay consistent with your content. Start off small. Don't bite off more than you can chew. I highly recommend downloading the free content scheduler that we have for you guys. Again, linked up in the stories. It's going to walk you through a little bit more of the scheduling side, but you want to make sure if you're telling your audience you're going to be putting out a value-based post once a week, you're showing up and actually posting it. If you're showing them you're going to do it twice a week, you're doing it twice a week. For my audience, they know that I'm going to come to them once a week with a video and a blog with a freebie attached to it. So if I stop showing up, they're going to stop tuning into my content. And then last but not least, number 5 is just deciding what content works best for you. So take 2 to 3 months, post consistently, and then go back and look at your analytics. What's performing the best? Are you getting a lot of eyes on your live videos? Are you getting more eyes and more shares on your carousel posts? Are your reels popping off? Because that really is the time that we're in right now. Reels are kind of at the height of the algorithm. Whatever it is that is working best for you, consider producing more of that type of content and less of the stuff that's not performing as well. And then another thing to look at are your lead magnets. When you are looking at your lead magnets, and specifically your landing pages attached to those lead magnets, what is the freebie that most people are downloading? If the one that you love the most isn't performing, then maybe you should be sharing more of the one that is performing the best. So for me, I know my meal planner performs the best out of everything. It's not my favorite. It's not the one I get the most excited about, but it is the one that brings the most leads in. So that's what I lead with when I am talking to a new person about the different freebies that we offer. Now, if you don't know how to set up a lead magnet system, I highly recommend tuning into that free training because that is going to bring you in more leads than social media alone. And I'll tell you that's what blew my business completely out of the water is when I learned again how to work smarter, not harder, and learn how to build an email list through the freebie funnel system. So this is part 2 of 3 of how to set up a marketing strategy for your small business. Head up to the stories, tune into the full training, and give your business that boost that you have so desperately been needing.